Hello. Hi, Cindy. This is Mom. So, I'm going to do what we talked about. You gave me this book, your mother's story. It says, "Mom, I want to know everything about you." And then on the bottom it says, "Give this book to your mother to fill out and return back to you." Well, I've started this book, but I think you decided that, well, I can do this, but that it's better if I just leave you some videos that you can play back later someday. And hopefully you'll enjoy them. So I'm going to be 81 next month. Uh, so if I want to cover everything from the very beginning, I'll have to say that I have to start from the very first moment that I was aware of life. And I was about 1 year old at the time. My memory is really short, and my parents filled in the rest. I remember like waking up, but I was sitting down on somebody's lap. I was in a car, and I was looking. I turned and looked out the window, and it was just a new experience. I was looking out the window, and then poof, that was it. But later on, as I talked to my mom and dad about my first experience of life, they said, "We know exactly when that was." And so I said, "Well, tell me about it." So the story is, I hope I can finish that in 15 minutes. And this is video number one. So the story goes that I was around 1 year old. My mom had an older sister and an older brother. And they both had, my uncle had a boy. They were all three of us were born around the same time. So he was my age, and my mother's older sister had a twin girl. The other twin had already passed away. Um, so there was three babies in the immediate family, and so what happened was there was like a party or some sort of gathering, and my mom took me. I have an older sister that's 7 years old. My mom took me, the little baby, to this gathering, to this party that the family was having. And when they walked in, there were two babies on a bed, and they put me in the middle. Well, they were told that those two little babies on either side of me were sick. And I don't know if my mom picked me up then or whatever, but I'd been there for a little bit already. So later on, my uncle's boy died from whatever it is we all had that I got, and my aunt's twin daughter died. I was the only one left, so I was very sick. They took me to there was just one little country doctor. It was a little old guy, around my age probably at the time. They took me to him, and they carried me in a little box full of cotton because I was so skinny that they were afraid, to touch me. My mom says I was really red or purple or something. All my little insides were out. I was on a little cotton box. And the doctor took a look at me, and he'd already seen my two other cousins that passed away, and told my dad and my mom that he couldn't save me, that it was too late, that I only had about 2 days to live, I think. So they took me home, and my dad was not the type to give up that easy. Not when it came to his family taking care of us. So he told my mom that no, he wanted a second opinion. He was not going to let me die. So in the middle of the night, he took off walking down the railroad tracks to Big Wells, because we lived in Crystal City, to Big Wells, Texas, to ask my uncle for his car, or to have my uncle drive us to the hospital. So my dad came back with my mom's older brother and his wife, and they picked my mom and me up and my older sister, and we drove to San Antonio. And they immediately started putting tubes in my nose and my mouth and all that, and they asked my dad to hold me. He had to hold me because I was little, and um, you know, my dad was a tough, tough guy like John Wayne, but when he saw his little girl with all the stuff that they were sticking in my nose, all the tubes, he just fainted. He couldn't take it. So my uncle took over, and my uncle held me, and they put all those tubes in me. The doctors came over to them and said I was very, very ill. That my stomach was kind of like glued together, and that they were going to try to put uh, liquids and whatever in my stomach, intravenous feeding and all that, and that they were hoping that all that would be, I would retain it, and they were just going to have to wait and see what happened. So in the morning, my parents were in the hospital all the time I was there. They never left, and my uncle and my aunt. Um, so they came and told my parents that it looked good. I had retained all the liquids and all that, and that my little tummy was beginning to unstick and everything. And they said they needed more time with me there. That I couldn't. There's no way they were going to release me or anything. So I was there for about 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, they came and told my parents, "You can take her home. Everything is fine. She's healthy. Nothing to worry about." So everybody was so excited. So my mom sat up front with me on her lap. And she says she remembers from me being so sick, not even opening my little eyes because I was that sick, to all of a sudden I was sitting there with my eyes wide open looking out the window. So she said she was so happy, so happy. And that's how I got my memory. I mean, my parents verified, my first memory. They said, true, true, true. We were very lucky. You made it. We were so happy. And so that is the first video number one. And I'll be talking about, in the next 2, 3, or 4 videos, experiences that I had between ages 1 and 3, because we lived in Carrizo Springs, Texas during that time. And it was a little adventure for me. Texas is so dry, dry. There's no grass, no, just dirt, and if it gets windy, all that dirt all over the place. And my parents were poor in 1938. A lot of people were having a real hard time and everything. And we lived in a little house, very tiny and old. I suppose now you would say it's a little shack, but we were happy there. Well, anyway, that's going to be video number 2. That's going to be my second video, and then I have a couple of more before age 3. So see you later. Bye.